Senator Reid, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us fresh off your trip. First, let me just ask, that's a big trip to the Middle East and back. When did you actually land back in the United States?
I arrived 3 a.m. yesterday morning.
How long of a travel is it? How long of a flight?
It's about 6 or 7 hours to Shannon. Then you have to refuel the aircraft, and it's another 6 or 7 hours to the United States, to Andrews Air Force Base.
So it's quite a trip. You know this issue very well. You know this region well already, but I'm curious what new you took away from this trip. What do you know or think now that maybe you didn't a week ago, or you thought differently about a week ago before these conversations?
Well, we met first with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I think he is maturing. He wants Saudi Arabia to be a positive, constructive economic force. I urged him to increase production of oil so that we have lower prices, and also that the Russians don't have the advantage of high prices. And then I also urged him to be one of the leaders, both financially and politically, in helping the Palestinians find safe haven. And he was responsive. He was one who seems to be very much aware of the problems, but we'll see if he can follow through. And then we met in Israel with President Netanyahu, Lapid, who is his political rival, Benny Gantz, who has joined the unity government, a former general officer, and also Defense Minister Gallant. This has been a real shock to the people of Israel. To see the brutality of the Hamas attack is to be moved is not strong enough an emotion. And also to sense that all of this recalls the most bitter moments of the Holocaust, where, people literally were constantly thinking, where can I hide? And after the attack outside of Gaza, people beginning to think, well, if this happens to my community, where do I go? So this is a horrific situation for the Israelis. Prime Minister rather, Netanyahu, I think senses the danger, and also is still trying to process the surprise and the lack of preparedness. They are committed to going after and destroying Hamas, but I think they have to recognize that it is not a quick, strike in the middle of the night to take out a few people. This is urban warfare. This takes a long time. It takes significant preparations, and I urge them to take those preparations. For example, our battle in Mosul in Iraq took 9 months to clear the city, and the Iraqi army suffered 11,000 casualties. This is a much more complicated problem. And then we met with President Sisi of Egypt. We thanked him for opening up the Rafah crossing so that humanitarian supplies are now flowing in on a much more regular basis to the Palestinians. But we have to do much, much more. One of the really despicable aspects of Hamas is that they hate the Jewish people, and they're really indifferent to the plight of the Palestinians. They use them as shields. They embed their positions in sensitive facilities like schools, because they really are indifferent to the fate of the Palestinians who might be injured in an attack. So we're dealing with a very difficult battle, and it'll take a while. And the other final point is that we have to do all we can to prevent this from expanding. Hezbollah in Lebanon is, looking into seeing if there's an opportunity. Iran has proxies. In fact, Iranian proxies have already attacked American forces in Iraq and Syria, and we can't tolerate that. We have to defend our men and women who are there. So one of the messages we tried to stress was doing everything we can to contain this fight and prevent the whole Middle East from being engulfed in warfare.
So I know you, as you mentioned you met with the officials in Israel, a whole bunch of the officials. Did you have any time to speak with any sort of rank and file average Israelis or anyone like that?
Well, we had a very moving session with the relatives of the hostages. Of course, this is a key issue of how do we get these innocent people back. There's over 200 hostages. 4 of them had been released, but that's a fraction of the number of people that are being held. And the pain and the anguish of these families is overwhelming. You have grandfathers that have 3-year-old granddaughters who are in the control of Hamas. You have young men and women that are being held hostage. And again, Hamas is not a military force that's fighting a battle for national goals. They're a terrorist group, and they will sink to the lowest level to inflict harm and psychological harm on the Israeli people.
How close do you think the Israelis are to actually moving into Gaza? I think for a lot of us out just watching, we thought they were going to move quickly. I know you and others have said they should take their time, but do you think we're close yet, or do you think this could be a much longer buildup than maybe some of us were expecting?
Well, I think, the decision is the Israeli decision that they've been attacked, that they will make the decision. But the advice we've been given based on our experience is, as I like to describe, you have to prepare the battlefield. You have to have coherent objectives. You have to have adequate intelligence. You have to know where you're going and know if you seize this objective, it will be critical to the next objective, et cetera. And I think they're thinking harder and harder about that. We have some advisors that have gone in that were there at the Battle of Mosul and Fallujah. They saw all the complexities of urban warfare against a terrorist group. And I think they're providing a lot of insights. They have to think of ways to rescue the hostages without jeopardizing their lives. That's very complicated. And I think Hamas demonstrated to the shock of the whole world a sophisticated way to operate tactically. And I think they fully expected the Israelis would respond by coming into the Gaza Strip. And I think they prepared themselves accordingly. So this is not sort of a slapdash operation where they got in, they got lucky, and they got out. This is very, very sophisticated planning. And the Israelis have to, as I say, prepare the battlefield so that they will, 1, win, 2, minimize their casualties, and 3, and very importantly, minimize innocent civilian casualties.
One last quick question. I saw a report yesterday that Senator Sullivan is going to file for cloture on some of the military promotions stuck in the Tuberville blockade. Your reaction to that?
Well, we are trying to work to get all of our military released, and that is critical. We have 300 or more personnel. We're in the midst of 2 major efforts to help our Ukrainian allies, to help our Israeli allies. We have many people in CENTCOM, the theater that controls Israel, that are waiting to be promoted. They can't move to the job they've been assigned. So the onesies and twosies is not going to work. And we are pressing our Republican colleagues to stand up and recognize that this is now, it always was, but now more importantly, a critical national security issue to get all of our nominees confirmed. And if they don't do that, then they're harming significantly the readiness of the United States military. And the other thing that they cavalierly dismiss is the impact on families. It's just plain, as I've said before, cruel to, force a military family that's moved perhaps 20 times, and that's not unusual, to be sitting there with all their household goods in some place and sitting in a hotel with kids going to school, but not the school they really want to go to. It's just mean and heartless. And our military deserves much better than that. So these onesies and twosies are not going to fix the problem. The Republicans have to come and join us in sufficient number so we can clear the decks.